Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada, all glories to the Sankirtan mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, unadulterated and unedited, the original way back home, back to Godhead. And it was really ecstatic this morning to hear that kirtan, wasn't it, Krishna Katha? Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. I was thinking back, Yashodanandana Prabhu, how you and I had so many opportunities, not a whole lot, but some, to chant that very kirtan for Srila Prabhupada personally as he sat on the Vyasasan. It brought me back to when he was in Toronto, and I took the liberty of leading the kirtan and building it to a crescendo, and then begin the chanting of Jaya Prabhupada, and the devotees just hit the ceiling. Of course, it was very high because the ceilings in Toronto were 25 feet high. But I'm just saying that there was an ecstasy. I remember that too. I was mentioning to Krishna Gata how we greeted Prabhupada one morning from his morning walk in Mayapur Dham in 1974. He was out, Yashoda, you'll recall, we were staying on the wall. Prabhupada would come out and walk down through the front gate, walk around to the left and go through the field and then come back to the temple. So he wouldn't come back up through the procession of devotees that were in the front pathway there up to the top. He came in through the back with his entourage of select devotees, which we were just ordinary Sankirtan devotees, spending our time preaching the Krishna consciousness movement on the streets and in the airports and everywhere we went, door to door. So we weren't entitled to be with him. Tamal was there, of course, and Romeshwar and all the so-called big devotees. And but nonetheless, we waited for Prabhupada to come out of the field. It was myself, Sura, Pragosh, and a group, Haranyagarbha, who you know, who became initiated. He was from Toronto. What was his, Jagadananda he became. And he took he got reinitiated, got completely bewildered, not only by his own personal problems, but by the difficulties that he was encountering in Mayapur with Bhavananda. Bhavananda was there, Vijay Pataka, created a lot of confusion for him. And he went off and retook initiation from Alit Prasad Thakur. So anyway, Prabhupada was coming in, and I was blessed to be leading the kirtan with Pragosh and Sura and all the rest of us. And I still remember chanting, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. It was just over the top. Prabhupada stopped and looked at us and had a huge smile on his face. Seeing his dancing white elephants performing kirtan for him back in the early years of his preaching work to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. And back then it was really taking off. We were there. You've seen those pictures of 73, 74. Achyutananda leading the kirtan down the pathway to the yoga peak. You see that beautiful picture? We're all in that big procession. And Prabhupada was demonstrating to his godbrothers how effective he had become in spreading Krishna consciousness globally. This was the first time in the history of the world that the movement had spread so prolifically, because he was Jagat Guru, the bona fide representative of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami. Not these other people that were fighting over the temples after Bhaktisiddhanta's departure and only interested in name and fame. So we won't discuss that right now, but this was a great time for us, all of us, to be in the association. And, you know, this is Vaishnava etiquette, which has been lost after Prabhupada's demise, as we know. Like, if anybody said anything about the new guru system, they became banished from the association of devotees. And in some cases, as I was discussing with my godbrother in San Diego, who's on the screen right now, they were even seriously persecuted for objecting. And this type of culture has arisen in the ISKCON movement to discredit people that don't approve of their system. Discredit them, banish them, demoralize them, defame them. Yeah. That's not Vaishnava etiquette. Godbrothers defaming other godbrothers because we don't agree with your fraudulent system of guruship. No, that's wrong. Absolutely 100% wrong. And, you know, it should be understood that there should be Vaishnava etiquette. You know, a lot of people have seen all of this controversy. Our controversy is not fault-finding, it's fact-finding. We can prove. I just saw a beautiful essay that Yashodanandana sent to me from someone in Russia. Very detailed, articulate writing on this whole guru hoax. It was extraordinary, and I hope he sent it out to some of you, just so that you can see it or you can request it from him. Extremely accurate understanding of how this thing was a huge, massive cover-up. Cover-up. How about conspiracy by a few ambitious people that were interested in material success? Because that's what religion does. You know, there's a difference. Not everybody you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So we have to be careful not to discredit all of the Prabhupada disciples. I know in our particular situation, we've been attacked by a variety of people for our position as promoting Prabhupada as the bona fide Diksha Siksha Guru for humanity moving forward. And people look at us, oh, you're a blasphemer. You're so offensive. Well. This is the opinion of the mundane class of men who have very little understanding or respect for Prabhupada disciples. Of course, there's a distinction between Prabhupada disciples in one sense. And in another sense, we're all one in our relationship with Prabhupada, that we're all following him and the process. But some of us, yes, we've been blessed personally by Srila Prabhupada. And that should be recognized, not minimized. That's what goes on. Oh, who's he? He made a mistake. He did a thing. He did this. Fault finding, rumor mongering, criticism, mental speculation by new people, old people. This is not Vaishnava etiquette. I was at a funeral yesterday, Krishna Katha. I went to it, Yashodanandana Prabhu, out of curiosity. You know what I mean? Like these were people that I associated with when I was 14, 15 years old. Totally away from Krishna consciousness, complete karmis. We were all lost in the material world. And when I joined the movement back in 1970, it was a great shock for most of my friends. They thought, oh, this guy flipped right out. Because at the time, we were somewhat, as a young group of people, myself and Udama Shloka and a bunch of us, we had 19 Prabhupada disciples joined from Hamilton. People thought we went crazy. My parents were really upset I became a devotee. My father rejected me. So all of this type of thing went on. And the question was in my mind, well, did I do the right thing? I had a valuable bass guitar at the time. It was a 1957 blonde neck Precision. It's worth about $25,000 now. It's a true collector's item. I sold it and gave the money to the temple president to pay the rent for the temple, this building that we were renting here in Hamilton. So people thought I went completely insane. But at this funeral yesterday, I realized that we are blessed to be the disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, because these other people, all of them, every one of them was a byproduct of material life, and they looked absolutely pathetic. Most of them could barely walk. Most of them barely had any memory. Most of them looked absolutely distorted by material existence and diseased. So Krishna consciousness, no matter what you think, is the best thing you can do for your life. If you're a young man moving forward at this point in time, do not hesitate to keep going, because on the long-term process of devotional service, you will succeed in life and your karmi friends will fail. They will fail. They will go down according to the laws of karma. And they will suffer birth after birth after birth due to ignorance of the facts of reality that Prabhupada has revealed to all of us in the Krishna consciousness movement and this process. So enough of that. Let's move forward, Krishna Katha, with the reading. I have so much to speak about. It's just the way it is. I meditate on this for days, Yashoda, trying to look deep inside. Where are we going with all of this? And how will we continue to succeed as a group to protect Prabhupada's legacy moving into the future? And one of them, I just wanted to show you before I get going. Take a look at this, Prabhus. This came from my friend in Montreal, Aprakrita, and it's a bookmark. And I give it out to people. I took it to Mexico. It's an older bookmark for me because it's promoting before we got going with this group here, I had a website, Vishwakarma Das, and was getting a lot of traffic there, but at any rate, I put that up and some verse and then the mantra. So when I was going away, I was giving it away. So you should have some type of handout. We have a handout that we've created, an invitation card. I don't believe we can show it today, but sometime in the future we can show it. It's in our database. And if you have any interest in getting this invitation, you can give it out when you go see people. Give it out to them. Say, hey, listen, try coming to these classes. See if you pick up anything that might help you in your pursuit of happiness. Because, people need knowledge. And I wanted to thank, this is a little Bhagavad Gita. It's supposed to be pinned on my sweater here, but it really didn't fit in. This is from a Prakrita 2. So all kinds of little stuff you can get. And yeah, we have the tool. We'll try to send it to you. I'll get Ron Singh to send it to you, probably. Or I'll see if I can send it myself. Let's go to the diaries moving forward. Saturday, May 14th, 1966. Prabhupada's in New York City. We're going to move along quickly and read it. Just to we get the pace. I want you to all feel the pace that Prabhupada had as he was planning his day. These are the things to do, the notes that he was using to guide his focus every day and unfold the mission. Sunrise 4:46, sunset 7:07, moonrise 2:18, Dasami. Paul was paid for expenditure $1. There was a meeting at noon, Sanskrit class, contributions $4. I went to Ananda Ashram. There was kirtan in the evening. 4 letters by airmail posted, 1 to Chandra Shekhar, Nurya Kumar, 3 agent Punjab National Bank, Brindavan, and 4 Atmarama and Sons booksellers. So he's reaching out to try to get money transferred over for building a temple. Sunday, May 15th, sunrise 4:45, sunset 7:08, moonrise Ekadasi. The whole day I was in Ananda Ashram, Mayavadi Ashram, by the way. I came back at 5 p.m. Yolanda brought me back by car. She has promised to come here on Wednesday next. Mishra was kind to him. Prabhupada was trying to somehow or other penetrate this group. Monday, May 6, 1966. Sunrise 4:44 a.m., sunset 7:09, moonrise 3:11, Dwadasi. Today paid Paul for expenditures $350. Paul was a nut. Received 1 letter from Mangala Nanoy, Brahmachari, very encouraging. He wants to help me in my mission. I have replied and assured him to get him here provided he works here submissively. So he's qualifying it. Vaishnava etiquette. In the evening, there was meeting, 10 ladies and a gentleman attended. You can probably hear that class if you search it online. Contribution was $7.55. Not much money. Postage, $2.10, bus fare 30 cents, $2.40, $3.50, $5.90. So he's doing a reconciliation. Tuesday, the 17th of May. Sunrise 4:43 a.m. Sunset 7:10 p.m. Moonrise 3:24. Tridosi. Today I paid Paul for expenditure $1. Wednesday, May 18th. Sunrise 4:43, sunset 7:10, moonrise 3:47. Chaturdasi. Today I paid Paul for expenditures $1.25. In the evening there was a meeting, 12 ladies and a gentleman. 1 man attended. Contribution was $7. 1 letter received from Atma Singh, Bombay. On Thursday, May 19th, sunrise 4:42, sunset 7:11, moonrise 4:14. Amavasya, Paul paid $2 for expenditures. You know, meticulous Prabhupada's monitoring the movement of Lakshmi. Today, one letter received from Mr. Paul C. Sherbert, and he is replied also. And on Friday, May 20th, sunrise 4:41, sunset 7:12, moonset, new moon, Pratipada. Today I withdrew $25, Mr. Paul's money, and delivered it to him, $25 in full. Purchased one box of stapling, $1. It is calculated today that after the expenditures up to date, the balance is $22 out of all contributions in the meeting. Mr. Raphael wants to sell books. I've given him instructions. Let me see what he can do. Mr. Paul wants $5 more for depositing in electric office in his name. Expenditures $12. In the evening, there was a meeting, and although the attendance was with 10 men, the collection was only $4. Not much for a public speaking event, eh? They pay millions for Bill Clinton to go speak. For further description of Raphael, see Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita planting the seed. And Saturday, May 21st. Do we have that, brother?
No problem.
Okay, so that's as far as we'll go today. That was 7 days. Thank you very much. We're going to move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, and then our wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam class, which is Nandana Prabhu. Is it still snowing up there in the hills of California? No? So some relief.
No, but it's still cold. Still cold at night.
Matrasmosis Tokontia Sitoshno Sukadukada. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava and then the Srimad Bhagavatam class with Yashoda Nandana Prabhu.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Samad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami Ito Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Ito Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya. Narayanam namaskritya. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supremmost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavat Purana. As we do every Sunday, we will recite a few verses from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 2, where it describes the significance and the benefit of hearing this great, powerful, transcendental literature. We're reading from Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 17. Shrinvatam svakata Krishnaham punyashravana kirtanaham hridyantastoya badrani vidunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text number 18. Nashta pragesho vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevayam. Nashta pragesha vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevayam. Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class, or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Text number 19. Tadarajastamo baba kamalobhadayaschaye chitayete ranaviddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time, the effect of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Text number 20. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man, affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord, can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So again, as we do every week, we will read a few selected passages from chapter 2 of the Gaudiya Cantar describing the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is to be noted that these verses were compiled at the direction of His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master. We'll be reading from chapter 2, text 20, and this is a quotation from the Padma Purana. Pado yadiyo pratama dvitiyo triyaturyo katitu yaduru nabistata panchanaiva sasto bhujantaram duryugalam tatanyau kantastura jannavamo yadiyo mukaradavindam dasamam prafullam ekadasho yasya lalata pattakam shiropi tudvadasaiva bhati tamadi devam karuna nidhanam tamalavarnam suhitavataram apara samsara samudra setum bhajamahe bhagavata swarupam. I worship the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, the origin of all the gods, the abode of mercy, whose transcendental form is black like the tamala tree, and who has appeared in the form of his sound avatara, Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the literary incarnation of Krishna, a bridge by which lost souls can cross the ocean of repeated birth and death. Srimad Bhagavatam has 12 cantos, which correspond to the 12 different parts of Krishna's divine form. The first 2 cantos are the lotus feet of Krishna. The 3rd and 4th canto are his lotus thighs. The 5th canto is his lotus navel. The 6th canto is his torso and chest. The 7th and 8th canto are his lotus arms. The 9th canto is his throat. The 10th canto is his beautiful lotus face. The 11th canto is his forehead, and the 12th canto is his crown, from the Padma Purana. So we will begin this reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. I believe that we are now starting on chapter 5, text number 1, Sri Nārada's instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. 5th chapter, text number 1. Atatam sukamasina Upasinam Briyad Bhruva Devarishi Prahavi Prarashim Vinapanihi Swayannibha. Sutta of the name. Uvacha said. Atha therefore. Tam him. Sukhamasina comfortably seated. Upasinam unto one sitting nearly. Briyatshravā greatly respected. Devarishi the great rishi amongst the gods. Praha said. Viprarishim unto the rishi amongst the Brahmin. Vinapanihi one who carries Vina by his hand. Swayaniva apparently smiling. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, thus the sage amongst the gods Nārada, who is comfortably seated, addressed the rishi amongst the Brahmin unto Veda Vyasa, apparently smiling. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Nārada was smiling because he knew well the great sage Veda Vyasa and the cause of his disappointment. As he will explain gradually, the cause of Vyasadev's disappointment was due to insufficiency in catering the science of devotional service. Nārada knew the defect, and it was confirmed by the then position of Vyasa. Text number 2. Nārada uvacha parasharya mahabhaga bhavataha kachidatmana pritushyati sharira atma manasa evava. Nārada of the name uvacha said. Parasharya, or the son of Parashara. Mahabhaga, the great fortunate. Bhavataha, your. Kachid, if it is. Atmana, by the self-realization of. Paritushyati, does it satisfy. Sharira, identifying the body. Atma, self. Manasa, identifying the mind. Eva, certainly. Cha, end. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parashara, Nārada inquired whether yourself is satisfied by identifying the body or the mind as the object of self-realization. Purport. This was a hint by Nārada to Vyasadeva about the cause of his despondency. Vyasadeva, as the descendant of Parasha, a great powerful sage, has the privilege of having a great parentage, which should not have given Vyasadeva cause of despondency. The great son of a great father as he was, he should not have identified the self with the body or the mind. Ordinary man with poor fund of knowledge can identify the body or self as self and the mind as self, but Vyasadeva should not have done like that. One cannot be cheerful by nature unless one is factually seated in the matter of self-realization, which is transcendental to the material body and the mind. Om ajnanatirmirandasya jnananjanashalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yache Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyam Sadadaso Asmi Sarabata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Shat Karomishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter, before the actual teaching of Lord Krishna to Arjuna, first Arjuna admitted that he was confused and he accepted Lord Krishna as an authority, as his spiritual master. Here we see the same phenomena is taking place, that Vedavyas, the son of Parashara Rishi, is experiencing some dissatisfaction despite the fact that he compiled the Mahabharata, the Puranas, the Vedas, the Vedanta, so many exalted Vedic literatures, but still he was not satisfied. He was not complete in his realization. This is a very important point because we see that right at that time, Nārada Muni came there, and Nārada Muni is inquiring from Vyasadeva, are you satisfied? Nārada inquired whether yourself is satisfied by identifying the body or the mind as the object of self-realization. As we know, the first point in spiritual life is to understand that one is not the body, but an eternal spirit soul. And these various designations, called upadi in Sanskrit, have to be cleared out because everybody is very attached to this body as a result of one's previous karma or previous activities in a past life. And a person is born in a certain country, in a certain family, in a certain situation, with a certain set of senses, in a certain social environment, in a certain religious or so-called spiritual environment, and one becomes attached to these designations. But bhakti, or devotion to God, devotion to Krishna, begin sarvopadi vinirmuktam. Sarva upadi, that means all these designations have to be cleared out. But that does not mean that one becomes impersonal. No, one is still an individual. One is still an individual. And if one understands that position, then one has to progress to the next stage. What is that next stage? To engage the senses. Rishikena rishikeshana sevanam bhaktiruchyate. To engage the rishika, the senses, in the service of the master of the senses. Rishika Isha, Rishikesha. This is an important point. We see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jive Swarupa Nitya Krishna Das. Krishna Das Kaviraj has very nicely summarized what is the position of the living entity as an eternal servant of Krishna. This is very important. Very important. The entire Vaishnava philosophy has been summarized by Krishna's Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in a very simple line. Ekal Ishwar Krishna. Krishna is the only master. Ar Savabritya. All others are his servant. It's very simple. It is not complicated. It only becomes complicated when one is too attached to all of these different designations. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm American, Canadian, Mongolian, Polish, German. I am Catholic, I'm Hindu, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Jew, I'm a Buddhist, I'm this, I'm that. I'm intelligent, I'm not intelligent, I'm strong. So many artificial designations on account of false ego. False ego in Sanskrit, ahamkar. One thinks that I am the owner of this body, I am the doer, and everything that I have is my personal possession. It's called Maya. In Sanskrit, the word Maya has different meanings. One of them is Maya, not this. Another meaning of Maya explained by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, as quoted by Srila Prabhupada in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Maya means compassion and mercy. Why are we in this situation? Because we have rebelled against the authority of God. Just like in every state around the world, there is a police department. There's considerable expenditure with detectives, police, investigators, because the government knows there will always be a class of man, no matter how clearly you explain the law, they will disobey the law. There will always be a criminal element. Just like down here, I'm living in this mountain, and down the hill, there's a gentleman who used to be a detective in a police department of a major city in California. So one time I had a conversation with him, and he saw my shaven head, and he goes, "Oh, you are Hare Krishna?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Oh, I used to go with some of my friends to some temple. They used to have a restaurant, and we used to take their vegetarian food stuff there. Very nice, very nice." And we started to talk about the criminal elements, that no matter how much good advice you give them, no matter how much punishment you give them, no matter how much admonishment you give them, they will never learn. Some of them are incorrigible. That's why there's a prison house. So this material world, for the living entities who have rebelled against the authorities of God, it's like the prison house. Because if you are a police officer or a detective, you're taking considerable risk when approaching some of these unsavory elements. Some of them may pull out a gun and shoot you. Some of them without a gun they're professional criminals. They will attack you for no reason. Similarly, in the material world, living entities are very stubborn. They want to stay here despite all the suffering, despite all of the evidences that one should not stay here, but should engage his mind and his senses in the service of Krishna. Just like the government is always giving a chance to those who have gone wayward, who have gone the criminal way, to reform themselves. They put them on probation, they'll put them in jail, they'll give them time off for good behavior. They will give him some rehabilitation program, but some of them, it doesn't matter what you do, they'll go right back and do it again. This is the position of the living entities in the material world. This strong attachment to this bodily conception of life is the disease. That is the disease. How to cut that cord of attachment to this material world. This is done by the mercy, by the kindness of a pure devotee who is liberated, completely liberated from any attachment to the material world. Recently, I had a brief exchange with a devotee who was trying to tell me that Prabhupada used to be a Kanishtadikari who became a Madhyamadikari and an Uttamadikari. I said, no, that is incorrect understanding. That is defective understanding. Prabhupada always was a Mahabhagavata right from birth. He was an eternally liberated soul who was sent to this world by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna himself to redeem the fallen souls in this age, to bring them out of this Maya prison. Just like the government has different rules, at least in this country, in other countries, the king or the government or the president has the prerogative to pardon anybody they want for whatever reason. That is the prerogative of the king, that they have that power. So similarly, Krishna's agent, the powerful agent of Krishna, the representative of God, has that power. Very important point. I was reading a very interesting conversation yesterday. Let me see if we can find it for everybody here. This conversation was is a conversation on January 28, 1977, January 28, 1977, in Bhubaneswar, India, where Srila Prabhupada is talking with a devotee, and this devotee is saying, I'm just going to cut to the chase here, but when I came to that person sitting on the elevated seat in that forest, surrounded by many, many devotees, that person looked at me and proved to me that he was the representative of God. But after I forgot, maybe 1 year or something like this, 1 or 2 years later, Srila Prabhupada, so there is no doubt about it that I am the representative of God. Pitru Putra, yes, but when I was, Prabhupada, either you dream or not dream, I claim. Pitru Putra, yes, but this thing was just confirming. When I saw you the first time in Amsterdam, you were the same person that I saw in my dream 1 or 2 years previously, Prabhupada. That you have read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Guru Tattva. So there it is clearly said that Guru is the manifestation of God. So it is confirmed in the Shastra, and all the acharyas accept it. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadaha, Satsvarup. But is it possible to also learn spiritual truth from this, from representatives on the subtle plane? Prabhupada, there is no question of subtle plane. You are on the gross plane. You first of all study gross things, and subtle we shall see later on. Pitru Putra, of course, that was never a doubt. That is just the way I came to Krishna consciousness. And when I saw you, Prabhupada, so the Guru is the representative of God. That's all right. Then what is your misunderstanding? The point is that Prabhupada very clearly describes his very unique position. We have written one article, a few devotees, Narasimha Prabhu and one former associate, Damagosh. We have written one article called The Unique Historical Position of Srila Prabhupada, where we have analyzed different statements from Srila Prabhupada in his books, letters, conversations, where he explains the position of eternally liberated souls, called Nitya Siddha Parshada, or persons who are sent from the spiritual world to preach Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada often described Prophet Muhammad and Lord Jesus Christ as especially empowered entities, or Shakti Avisha avatars. They're especially empowered personalities to deliver people from their materialistic attachment, to bring them back home, back to Godhead. At this point, I want to mention one devotee on this call named Swarat Prabhu. Swarat Prabhu is preaching in Malaysia, and I heard recently, I've not seen any transcript or anything, that he had some very interesting discussion either on Facebook or TikTok or one of these social media about Prophet Muhammad and some spiritual issues relating to the Kaaba in Saudi Arabia, and it was very well received by many persons. So we thank very much Swarat Prabhu for his exemplary preaching. We're very, very much happy to see his successful and very nice preaching in Malaysia in his regular classes. They have regular classes and anybody can connect with them very nicely. Hare Krishna. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Yashodanandana, for that brilliant explanation of today's verses. And there is a difference between Jnanam and Vijnanam. Jnanam means knowledge, and Vijnanam means knowledge by realization. Where the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita comes to reality in the front of the eyes of the devotee. It's not simply mental understanding, but it's a practical realization of the truth by seeing through the eyes of the scriptures. This is much different than the way people in the material world look at things. Oh, I saw it, I know it's true. The senses are imperfect. So the reliability of the eye to see is very questionable. For example, in my own particular situation, Krishna Kata, I can only see through one eye. My left eye, I've been blind most of my life from an attack of rheumatic fever when I was a young child. So the eye is imperfect, but the sense of hearing is the way that we see Krishna, through hearing. The devotee does not see by the eye, but by the ear. And this is found in the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita given by Srila Prabhupada. The knowledge, when you listen to the lectures, Prabhus, of Prabhupada preaching back in May 1966, you'll see him injecting transcendental knowledge of the relationship between Krishna and Arjuna to his new students. It's a very, very, very authentic presenting of the philosophy. And I wanted to comment, I was listening to, and I've mentioned this before, I was listening to a lecture Yashodanandana Prabhu of Prabhupada speaking at a lecture back in the 70s, and I think it was 72. And Prabhupada says, some people say I've created miracles. I do not know a miracle. But if there is one miracle that I can take credit for, I did not change the words of my spiritual master when I presented this philosophy to all of you, so that we can see properly what is the difference between reality and illusion. This is Krishna consciousness, and this is Prabhupada's miracle to us. We see through the eyes of the ears, not through the eyes of the face. And I wanted to go back, Hari Prasad, to this purport today, just quickly. Text 2, just try to redirect it a little bit over, Prabhu. Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parasara, Nārada inquired whether you are satisfied by identifying the body or the mind as the object of self-realization perfect. just reading into the purport, we'll go to the center. The great son of a great father as he was, he should not have identified the self with the body or mind. Ordinary men with poor fund of knowledge can identify the body as the self, on the mind as the self, but Vyasadeva should not have done like that. One cannot be cheerful by nature unless one is factually seated in the matter of self-realization, which is transcendental to the material body and the material mind. I want to refer again, Prabhus, to yesterday's funeral, when I was in that building that was packed with people. I mean, people were nice. Everybody was greeting everyone. But one stark realization I had, seeing all of my old friends decrepit and destroyed by material nature, was that they had no vision of what reality is. These people were totally comatose, unconscious. It was unbelievably stark to my face to see this, Prabhus. This illusion of material life, it covers everyone. For example, there are very few devotees in this world. Very few. And we should treasure that association as our most valuable asset, especially because of the fact that we're presenting Prabhupada's teachings without any motivation. There are very few devotees. Probably where you live, wherever you are on the globe, how many people in your town or village or city chant 16 rounds a day? How many? I can tell you one thing. There are 750,000 people here in the city of Hamilton, and there's only one person that went out this morning and chanted their japa rounds on the street as a regular routine part of our morning walk. And that was myself. Is it a brag? No, it's a fact. Someone would say, well, you're bragging. Why am I bragging? That's not a brag. That's a fact. We have to recognize reality. And if we follow this process of chanting our rounds, following the four regulative principles, associating with bona fide disciples, like in our group that we've created and are expanding, and we practice this process of presenting Krishna consciousness to others by giving them things like invitations to the classes and books that are not adulterated or changed, unedited books to other people, and giving people good association and friendship, then we have a chance to become self-realized even while we're in this body. Prabhupada said that. Immortality is there, but it is only for those people that are focused on the transcendental platform of devotional service to their bona fide spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. It will not happen any other way. It's just like a light bulb. If you plug a light bulb into a socket that's not connected to the source, will the light go on? Does it? No, it doesn't. So when people plug into these bogus people that present the philosophy for a business of making money and attracting followers, they will not get the results that we will get by being connected to Prabhupada through his transcendental books, his lectures, and his letters. Yashodanandana, if you could further comment. Microphone, Prabhu.
This is a very important point, which we've discussed several times before, because the teachings of Krishna consciousness can only be spread if they're presented as it is.
Hmm.
You cannot adulterate and change the teachings that Prabhupada has given. You cannot change and mix it with some business motive or personal motive or money-making motive or show bottle posing and posturing motive. That is not going to do. Now, some foolish people may be convinced, but the real preaching, the real expansion of the Krishna conscious movement will take place. It is taking place. There's a big shift undergoing. It's called a Vani-based shift. Vani-based means based on the actual original teachings of the Acharya Srila Prabhupada, not the physical body, not the Vapuvad nonsense mentality of a few ambitious people who want to twist and misinterpret the teachings for their own personal gratification. And this is a very important point, because some new people get confused. Well, they have a dhoti, they have a tilak, they have a shaven head, they're reading Bhagavad Gita. Okay, that's nice, you do that. That's really good, you keep doing that. But don't misinterpret the teachings. The teachings are simple, they're not complicated, they're not difficult. Just this week on Facebook, somebody sent me a very beautiful video. It's a friend of our program named Mahatma Das, Mario Pineda. And he bought a property in northern Florida, and he's developing it, a beautiful Varnashram project. And he was showing each and every part of the property where him and another devotee named Anubhavananda Das, who writes beautiful poetry glorifying Srila Prabhupada, they're both working on this Varnashram project out there, and it's quite amazing what is going on. Very, very impressive. Very impressive. So very, very good project there. And before we go further, I don't know if Surat Prabhu in Malaysia is still there. Maybe you can ask him to make a few comments.
By all means.
If he's available.
Swarat, can you speak?
Swarat.
Swarat. Is your microphone working, Prabhu? Swarat, Prabhu in Malaysia? If it is, you can come on later. I see our friend in Florida or in Dallas, Texas, is there ready to go. Dharma Bhavan, our good God brother. Could you share some comments on today's program?
Okay, no, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Beautiful class as usual. I was just thinking how, thank you. There are many newcomers to devotional service, probably even on our class, reading and discussion, and they may not understand that there are dangers to one's bhakti lata bij. Like we start thinking, oh, this is hearing and chanting and prasadam is very simple, it's lovely, and all those things are true. But then when one becomes a little more active in devotional service after some time, we learn that there are events which may cause harm or advancement to our spiritual life. And I was thinking how if someone is a gardener, they have to fence off their garden, or in some cases do something to stop the rabbits, other different kind of insects coming and running your garden. They eat up all your small, delicate plants. And I was reading also, I wanted to read just a little bit from Srila Prabhupada's Hidden Glories, the history which came out a year or so ago. It says here, Bhakti Aloka by Bhaktivinoda Thakur on progressive levels in spiritual advancement. Each and every gradual step has different prescriptions and prohibitions. Whenever a living entity steps to one level and stays there, he is obliged to follow the prescriptions and prohibitions of that step. By following those enjoined prescriptions and prohibitions, one becomes eligible to attain the next step. If one is unable to attain the next step, he falls down to a lower step. That is called degradation. And a little explanation here. Universally, when one acts beyond one's level of advancement, or adhikara, result is degradation. This degradation commonly manifests as two formidable enemies, pride and envy. Pride manifests as an inflated, overexalted conception of oneself. Envy, pride's companion, directs negative thoughts and criticism toward others who are factually exalted. Both will result in offenses to other devotees. One who commits Vaishnava aparad quickly loses taste for chanting or any other devotional service. The natural question is, what is the cure? Recognizing there is a problem is the first step to a cure. This can be done by strong introspection. The root cause is that one is acting beyond one's adhikara. Similarly, many devotees are rushing to sit on the seat of Vyasadeva and pretend to have the power of granting Divya Gyan directly into the hearts of others, a positioning of themselves far beyond their station and capabilities. So I just wanted to read that. It seems like that is something that could definitely happen. One could, if we see other devotees acting beyond their level of advancement, we could also think it's good for us too. So, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Glories to Prabhupada, Hari Bol. Yes. We have quite a few people on today's show. Yashodanandana Prabhu, the Zoom call. I was noticing Krishna Katha Dasi's also in California, I believe. Maybe you could share some of your thoughts and realizations with us today on this Srimad Bhagavatam class and discussion. Microphone.
Thank you, Vishwakarma Prabhu, and Yashodanandana for this most potent and pleasing to Prabhupada format. I'm so enlivened to come to these classes 3 times a week. I'm a bit of a trying to be at least a swan. I go to the temple in San Diego, and I just go there for the deity darshan and Prabhupada's darshan. And I have so many very relatable stories to this discussion today. Darva Bhavana brings up a good point about how watering or gardening the Bhakti Lata Bij. In San Diego, they're giving this disciple class.
Oh.
And I've approached some of the Bhaktins and Bhaktas after they've graduated. And I said, so what are some of the conclusions? What did you learn? And so far, out of the 6 or so that I've talked to, 2 of them were very much disillusioned by the most important part, which is I'm being asked to seek out one of these initiating gurus, right? That's someone who is posing as a Mahabhagavat and placing the 2 words next to their Krishna name, which is initiating guru. And they're very much disillusioned by this. So I said, well, who have you accepted in your heart? This is the most important part of your beginning, initiating your spiritual path. And they said, well, Srila Prabhupada, based on his teachings, his books. I said, well, that's who your guru is. If you're following his disciplinary process of following and practicing his disciplinary process, then he's your guru. He's the guru for the next however many thousands of years. I know the 10,000 amount is always put out there because that's probably the correct prediction or beyond. And so then they become very enlivened and they realize, yes, he's the one I'm mostly connected to. I said, because he's the solid connection. So this is going on in the temples, at least in the San Diego temple, that they're indoctrinating these jiva souls that are very attracted. And obviously from their past lives, they're coming to the temple. They're not going to the bar. They're walking into Krishna's temple. And they're wondering and inquiring, just like we all did when we first joined. So what I'm noticing is these jivas that stray and get misguided, they don't stay long. They're gone in a year or less, and they commit offenses, this Vaishnava aparad. And the other point I want to mention is what is created as a result of this bogus system is when I show up and people ask me, who are you and what's your name and who are you initiated by? They always expect me to say some bogus guru's name. I say, Srila Prabhupada. Oh, really? You seem kind of young. When were you initiated? And I tell them in 1980. And they say, this just happened yesterday at the Saturday, Lalitanath, who's the Jagannath mug there. He and I go on Saturday. And this devotee said, how is that possible? He left his body in 1977. I said, no, the system that Prabhupada left us, which is an officiating representative, was still going on in the Los Angeles temple with two groups of aspiring bhaktas and bhaktins. And I was given initiation on behalf of Srila Prabhupada and was told that I'm a Prabhupada disciple because the representative temporarily was, you might say, against the system that mostly Tamal was pushing. Tamal Krishna, let's just say it straight out. I know that most of the time we don't like to say names, but
I do.
there's so much evidence that he was pushing for this, that he called for that devotee to Dallas and chastised him and had a pre-written letter. This is true history. He had I heard it directly from Ramaswar, told me exactly how it happened. He had a pre-written letter and all Ramaswar had to do was sign it. And the letter said, I resign my position and my discipleship from Prabhupada, and I'm excommunicated from ISKCON. And this was in 1981 because Tamal had heard that he was giving the proper initiation system.
Wow.
And of course, we know what happened afterwards. And this is in no way am I trying to defend Ramaswar. No way. He had his transgressions. We all know about them. They're unspeakable things that he did. But the point, though, is this was one of those original 11 was, you might say, bucking the new system. He was going against it and got railroaded out of the movement if he didn't follow this bogus system. So when I explained that this is what was originally set up by Srila Prabhupada, this devotee just, he's so clueless. He had no idea that that had actually happened. And of course, he has one of these poser gurus as his, and I asked him his name, I was being respectful.
Yeah.
But I was able to at least plant this seed in his heart, in his mind, that, you should question, you should ask. So I have so many stories about the police reference that Yashoda Nandana gave, and I'd like to just share one quick one if I could. I don't know if I have more time or if I could do it
Go
at
ahead.
another.
Finish
Very
the
quickly.
story,
So
and we'll move to other people. Go ahead.
When I left the movement, it was after the Sulochan incident. It hit me really hard. And I've spoken in detail to Vishwakarma Prabhu about my involvement in that. I was a key witness. And it hurts still today to talk about it because that is one of our first devotees who led the charge against this atrocities laid out in Srila Prabhupada's movement. So he was dealt with in the worst possible way, shot point blank. But fast forward a few years, I'm a police officer in Ventura County. And just like Yashoda Nandana said, these criminals are so attached, right? That cord is just so firmly attached to doing more crime as soon as they get out. They're career criminals. So I coined a phrase. I used to, after taking the photograph and their fingerprints, and now they're in the booking cell, I would just say to them, you're going to become a t-shirt and a car wash. And they would just look at me like, what? I said, you know what I'm talking about. And they're still stunned. I said, because when you're shot and dead, all of these people will come and mourn at your wake and your funeral, and they'll make a t-shirt in your honor, and they'll raise money with a car wash. And that's what happens to all people like you. And that's where you're headed. Is that really what you want to become, a t-shirt and a car wash? And it just stunned him. I said this to several of these criminals, but one of them actually kind of woke up a little bit and couldn't believe what I was saying because it was true. That's where these criminals are headed. To some kind of nonsense funeral about the body, where everyone's sobbing and lamenting over the dead body. So our philosophy is perfect, it's pristine, and the PDA and the Hare Krishna Society is the only outlet I'm aware of on the planet right now, except maybe a few in India that Vishwakarma was telling me got it mostly right, that are actually preaching Prabhupada's message as it is. And so I cannot thank you both enough. I will, for the rest of my time in this body and beyond, be available to you as much as I can be to help you, because you have helped me come back to the movement I remember from the early 80s. And even in 1978, when I first got a book from Madhuha, and he introduced me to Srila Prabhupada through an original Sri Upanishad. And then he introduced me to one of Prabhupada's original disciples, Gorsindar. And Gorsindar, he preached Prabhupada's mission and spoke. And sometimes he would just read the purport and not have anything to say because it was perfect. There was no reason to further comment, right? So I had Prabhupada's movement from 78 to 1980, 81. And then it just went in a different direction. We all know why. We all know that history. So I'm very blessed to have Prabhupada's Vani. And Lalitanath and Vishwakarma and Yashodhana had Prabhupada's Vapu and Vani. So what to speak of their position? We know their position is even more glorious, because to have the personal association of Prabhupada's Vapu is rare. But the Vani is what we emphasize, and PDA is emphasizing the Vani, because that's really how we get the connection, is by hearing. We know this. And like Vishwakarma just said, the hearing is the connection. It's not the seeing. You know, I have a daughter with one eye, and I always encourage her. I said, go to the temple and see the deities. So you'll always have that memory, because you could lose your other eye.
Yeah.
And you want to know how beautiful they are. So thank you for letting me speak. I could keep going forever, but you've inspired me both so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
and very enlightening comments for all of our membership. And these are testimonials of truth. They're not testimonials of falsity.
No, this is
And
from the
they're-
heart.
Yeah, these are meant to give us insight into how to practice Krishna consciousness. I see Yashodhanandana Prabhu. Would you like to comment on these statements by Prabhu, or should we move to Nilesh Sham? He seems to have appeared at the end of the show for his somewhat...
Let's move on to some other commentators. There's a lot of nectar out there.
I wish Nilesh had heard the whole talk. It's been quite interesting. Go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna,
Nilesh
Prabhuji.
Sharma. Yeah, Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead.
Very enlivening to listen even to the last part of it, especially to Krishna Das Prabhuji's talk. I think if there is anything which we can do to repay Yashodhanandan Prabhu, to Vishwakarma Prabhu, or this whole process, is to invite more and more disciples like yourself into this particular movement, so that we can revive the real ISKCON back to its original glory. Forget what these guys are doing. Let them do that nonsense. They are going to deteriorate with time, because Krishna will dilute them as time. You know, as time passes, Krishna will dilute them. They will go in their own direction. And as we discussed even in the last class, where I was surprised to even learn that these so-called fake gurus have got their ringmasters to continue on their process. But in the process, they're going to ignore GBC, the very GBC which nominated them to become gurus. They are going to ignore that GBC, and they're going to continue their lineage, which of course is unofficial, which of course is not bona fide. And to get the proper jivas, the innocent jivas, the new jivas back into the movement, we need that the original disciples who stuck to Prabhupada's Prabhupada's mission statement to keep his purity. We need to invite them back. And I think ISKCON Bangalore does a good job about it in India, but somehow they have been misrepresented here as saying that it's only meant for Indians, when it is not. You know, in fact, I had the privilege of driving around Jai Chaitanya Prabhu, who is the number 3 man in ISKCON Bangalore in Alachua, and he had just returned from Latin America, I think somewhere in Peru or somewhere over there, where disciples were totally disillusioned because their so-called initiating guru fell and they had no place to go. Some people had even given up chanting. And that's when he and some other devotee from Chennai, they went there and said that this is how we are doing things. We are continuing to keep Prabhupada in the center. We are continuing to have initiation on his behalf, and people are relating. And people who had given up chanting for 2 years, 4 years, they started chanting right away. And within a week, some people were chanting back to the 16 rounds. So this is the power of purity. This is the power of force. Let purity be thy force, as Prabhupada says. And we need more and more disciples. Spread the word around that we need you to come back into the movement and invigorate us. And I did not know that Rameshwar Prabhu was initiating like a Ritvik in 1980. This fact has to come out. This very fact has to come out even amongst ISKCON. I am surprised to hear that, and I would love to hear more of such nectarian episodes which invigorates people like me who are not with ISKCON. I got involved in Bombay ISKCON in 1993, but I was away from all this, and then I had to discover this junk all by myself, you see?
Yeah.
And thanks to the internet, I could do that. But we need more and more people like you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and by the way, everyone, just so you know, and Nilesh, we are constantly reaching out to God brothers worldwide and inviting them. And we have gone through a large group of people that were disenchanted by the ISKCON movement, that were kicked out, or in the case of Krishna Katha's discussion, punished to the utmost, namely Sulochan's punishment by Kirtananda and Radhanath. So there's a lot of damaged goods that are floating around in the ISKCON debris. There's a lot of damaged goods. And if you know anybody that's interested in participating with us, I'd be happy, or Yashoda would be happy to speak to them. I'm always available, Nilesh, just so you know. And Yashoda we're always available. This is our full-time service, is to run a successful mission to protect Prabhupada's legacy, not institutionalized. No.
In the LA temple, how long did this Ritvik initiations go? Can Krishnadas Prabhu tell us in 1980? How long did it start and when did it end?
There were two groups. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Nilesh Prabhu, thank you for being very positive. You're absolutely correct. This is an important piece of our history. There were two groups. There was a group before mine, and I remember very vividly that I had just missed being in that group because I was traveling with the Festival of India program. So when I got back after going to all these universities, then there was another group formed. And I think it's important to note that when Ramaswar sat and was about to speak, you could picture this new Dwarka, the fire sacrifice is set up. You've got 6, 7, or 8 bhaktas and bhaktins ready. And he struggled for at least 2 minutes. It was very awkward. He wanted to speak, but he was moving his head and he hadn't opened his mouth to speak yet. And the very first words out of his mouth was, "Actually, I am not qualified to give you initiation. I have been given a service to initiate you on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. You will all be Prabhupada disciples." This were his exact words. Now, I was not stunned. Jai. I was not stunned. I was not stunned because I was told by Madhuha that this would happen, that Ramaswar was bucking the system. He was against it, like a renegade in a sense. But he was, in his mind at the time, he was just following being one of these 11 representatives. And he was already doing it before Prabhupada left his manifested form. But the point, though, is he continued it forward for 2 more groups, and I was the last one, because then it was the excommunication letter going to Dallas. He went there twice. And I also witnessed all of this, Guru Puja paraphernalia coming in with pictures of Ramaswar and the garlands and the Sanskrit, pranam prayers, to which he held his head down and never opened his eyes during the entire thing. He was completely humiliated by it. And then it would all disappear after a few months. And then he would get chastised again and had to get put back in all of his temples. So it was all so confusing. But I was never confused about what he said. And after he left, he took off with this young girl, this underage girl, and then he eventually went to go join his father's business and become a realtor and total, chasing the carrot, karmi, basically. I had Narnarayan, Jagadishwar, and Rajendranath all come up to me at different times while I was chanting japa and say, don't let what just happened, come between you and Prabhupada. Don't let it, stir up your faith. Stay strong. And then the Sulochan thing happened, and that was tough. That was a rough one. So the point, though, is, did I experience a lot of difficulty? Well, yeah, but I also allowed it, But at the same time, this is history. This really happened. And so, Nilesh, you're absolutely right. It's just another tiny piece of the truth about what system Prabhupada left us to continue forward. And can you all imagine where we would be if we had just followed that system? How many practicing Prabhupada disciples would be? The movement would be just gigantic and huge. Instead, it's just dwindling. And there's only, like Vishwakarma said, just a few of us left. It's just astonishing to me what's happened. And I know that there's so much that has already been said. I've listened to so many back recorded, PDA classes that are just amazing. And I can't tell you enough how I look forward to these. And it keeps me going all week, because I had to take another JOB to keep this household going. I'm taking care of my mother. So I understand the connection is the most important thing, because it's not happening at the San Diego temple. There's so much dissension. You walk into it, you can cut the dissension with a knife. It's us versus them. You see it, you feel it. I've been fortunate in all my career to really learn human nature. And so when I'm in that temple, it's the jivas that have been falsely initiated by posers. And then there's the Prabhupada disciples. And there's only like 3 or 4 that actually come there. And we're like segregated. There's dissension because we're a threat to their existence, to their connection. We're a threat to their connection, which is a useless, weak. I mean, they're reading Prabhupada's books. They're getting the philosophy, but it's tainted. It's been altered, right? By Jayadvaita and Nārada, it's altered. So it's not the real message. And this is what's unbelievable going on in Prabhupada's temple. It's just unbelievable. So thank you again for so much for allowing us this entrance back to Prabhupada.
Well, lots of information, and fortunately, we do move forward every week with these classes, 4.5 hours of classes out of 168 hours in the week, and we have almost 300 classes recorded. For the end of this program, I would like Yashoda to just do a summary statement for us, and then we'll move forward with the end of the program. Yashoda Nandana Prabhu, please make a few comments.
Yeah, I'm just going to quote from one of my favorite quotes from Srila Prabhupada. In 1975, on July 16th, 1975, in San Francisco, July 16th, 1975, reporter, what will happen to the movement in the United States when you die? Srila Prabhupada, I will never die. Devotees, Jai Haribol, Prabhupada, I shall live from my books and you will utilize. So the point is, any attempt for anyone to claim that he's a successor of an initiating acharya, this is not documented anywhere in 1977 during the last few months of Prabhupada's manifested presence. This is a very important point. Prabhupada should be emphasized as the actual guru, the initiating spiritual master. This is explained very nicely on our websites, on our Facebook pages, on our various classes. And we invite anybody that basically keep chanting, keep reading Prabhupada's original books, and you will see everything will become clearer and clearer. It is not difficult to understand. It is not complicated to understand. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Glories to Prabhupada. And finally, just as a comment, the episode that Krishna Katha mentioned, I was actually aware of it. I was the temple president in Toronto at the time, and I heard about Rameshwar's back and forth difficulties with Tamal Krishna. And it was tremendous amount of confusion going on between them and Kirtananda in Toronto and Gopal Krishna and all of these ambitious people. And this, as a result, this chaos appeared and manifested after Prabhupada's departure. And we're seeing it all with a bigger perspective on how to bring it back together. And it's our hope that all of us will come together as a team, philosophically correcting the distortions of the truth that have been propagated by those people that are in the guru business. Let's move ahead, Hari Prasad, to the Kirtan, and then we'll Vancha Kalpa prayers in the closing. Do you have that access, Hari Prasad?
Vanchakalpa prayers, no, Prabhu.
Pardon?
Kirtan. Kirtan.
Yeah, Kirtan I have. Yeah.
Do you have the closing as well?
Yeah.
Okay, please run it.
Excellent.
Thank you, everyone. Very enlivening.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha
Yes,
kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. Welcome everybody to the Chaitanya Charitamrita reading on Wednesday at 5:00 p.m. Pacific time. That is 8:00 Eastern time, Canada time. So thanks everybody. Thanks Krishna Katha for your very interesting testimony. Thanks Dr. Nilesh. And we invite everybody back. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tang Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna